Halloween forever.
You guys know what happened to Dracula? Because I guess he posted like some prohibited content on his YouTube page. You guys hear about that?
No. Tell me, Brian. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, account suspended. Welcome, boys and ghouls, to a fucking Showdown.
I keep forgetting
of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve.
I keep forgetting to give you guys your belts. Remind me next time we're in person and I don't have the Corvids.
Yeah. Well, we all still have varying degrees of Crovids.
Guys, I'm in the clear. I'm officially in the clear.
You're not Crovid. You're no longer Crovid
I'm
positive. I assume I still do in some capacity because Kate got it, but in any case, we're doing a little remote action here for this here showdown. So, we'll have to powerbomb ourselves through the table or whatever, but that's all right. We can probably accomplish that, I think. But guys, if you haven't listened to the last couple episodes, first of all, fuck you. Fuck you.
Brian's back. He actually doesn't have the Corvids. Actually,
I have no Crovids. I'm ready to fucking rip some throats. So talking about vampires. But yeah, if you haven't listened to the last episode, again, you're a piece of shit. But we have already discussed the fact that our Showdown episode here for the wonderful month of August is non-traditional vampire flick. So I'm all fucking thirsty for blood. I got that fucking bloodlust, getting all psyched up here to talk about some goddamn Dracula movies. If you haven't already, for God's sakes, what are you doing? Go on the social medias. Go ahead and search Halloween is Forever on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the TikTok, on the Facebook. Find us, follow us, and you'll get you'll get these things, these alerts, these posts, whatever it is, whatever platform it is, and then you'll get to help us vote and decide or even suggest topics for Showdown episodes, or really for minisodes for that matter. So get the fuck on it, guys. I'm sick of your horse shit. It's August. It's pretty much Halloween.
Sure your Corvids case is like turning into one of these zombie cases where you're getting really aggressive.
And for me, Crovids was a rage virus. Turns out.
Oh, guys, pickle surprise! It's a rage virus, and Brian got it.
Pickle surprise.
Yeah, what?
Just say that like it's a normal phrase people say. Like
I
we
can't
just
remember
know.
where it came from, but I've heard it a long time ago.
Pickle surprise. Crovids is a rage virus. That's a shirt. The whole thing. Hey guys, pickle surprise. ... Crovids is a rage virus. That's a whole shirt.
And it's just my face going,
Pickle surprise.
Pickle surprise. Who knows? Who knew? Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew?
Anyway, we are going to talk about those some bitchin' movies, but before that, we got some things to talk about. First of all, is Jens drinking beers yet, or what? I started drinking. I had a couple beers last night.
Whoa,
I'm having a couple
beer.
beers. Having a couple beers tonight.
I am for sure drinking today. I have not drank since I was like, I might be actually since our last episode. I have not had a lick of beer.
I know. I had zero alcohol for over a week. For like 10 days, which is the longest I've went without booze in my system since I was 9, I think. So, and no withdrawal symptoms that I noticed, but
you're not shaking, you're not doing anything. That's good. I mean, I'm glad that's the case, that you're not shaking. I think we would have to have a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't not smoke weed.
Right.
you did what's the Cali sober.
Yeah. Exactly, Cali sober. Yeah, it was. I mean, especially when you have like, a virus that is known to dramatically affect people's respiratory systems. I did not stop smoking marijuana drugs.
It's a good thing that you gave your liver a rest.
That's true. I can't sleep without weed. I'm pretty sure I could never sleep again if weed was gone from my life.
Hey, but at least with weed, you have alternatives. So, you could have taken some edibles and not worried about your lung situation. Nope.
No, actually, no, I didn't. I would have, but I didn't have any edibles. I ran out of edibles. I gave the rest of them to a friend who was out, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I want to go to the dispensary anyway because I got my card. Because I got a little bit of cataracts.
Season, and you're just giving. You're being so
giving.
Well,
it was like
it's pre
4 gummies. It wasn't a huge, it wasn't a large amount.
Yeah,
but
let's
anyway.
not assume that you're a good person.
Yeah. Listen, let's not act like I'm doing it. But I'm probably going to go to his house and steal his car. I mean, just so we're even. But anyway, yeah. So I'm having some brewskis. What are you having?
So I after work today, I actually
a little Bush Apple, huh?
Yeah, I actually went to the Bush Apple store.
The Bush Apple store. It's like the Apple store at the mall, except for everyone's inbred.
Yeah.
The Genius Bar is spelt with 2 E's.
And a J.
Yeah.
It's a J and 2 E's. It's the Genius Bar, but you say it like this: genius.
Way to go, genius.
Way to go, genius.
Pretty close. I popped over to our friends over at Coven Brewing Company, and I was eyeing up. I was like, what's the first beer I should drink after finally feeling free.
Yeah.
I'm free. And so I picked up Katie brewed a kind of tiki IPA. And
I saw that. I want to get it. I definitely want to get that.
I'll save you a can.
Well, no, I'll go get some because I've just been waiting to go buy beer until I ain't got the COVID. So
okay, cool. Then I'm not going to save you a beer. I'm going to drink it all tonight.
No, drink it all, and then I'll go buy some more from them because I like them and I want to buy their beer.
Yeah, it's called Design Lines, and it's Indie Pale Ale with pineapple, mango, and vanilla, and the hops are Sultana, Citra, and Chinook. It's nice because what I like is that oftentimes these type of beers will not feel like an IPA, but this one definitely still feels like an IPA.
Oh, good. Okay.
And it just has some fruit and this mild vanilla note to it. And
I like all the things you mentioned. I love pineapple. I'll fuck with a pineapple IPA. I'll fuck with a mango IPA. The vanilla was the turnoff when you said the vanilla.
Really?
Not that I don't like vanilla. I love vanilla. Yeah. I don't like vanilla in an IPA. I think it clashes with
artwork
dry
is
hops.
Gorgeous. I love
well, that's
that they
really
do
what I want it for.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, no, I just want it for the label.
Yeah.
They do a lot of that. Why am I'm drawing it blank. Maybe I still have Corvid's brain, but it's just very abstract, kind of cut and paste type art.
Collage-y
collage. Yes, that's exactly the word. They do a lot of collage art for their I've been doing a lot
designs. Of collages lately.
Really? Have you?
Yeah, I really have. I'm not even joking. Why
are you only sharing with us your Garfield art and not?
I don't know. I've been doing a lot of collage. I'll show you guys next time you come over. I got 6 or 8 collages.
I like the idea of collage art. I've kept I have a bunch of Decibel magazine and Fangoria magazines that I'm kind of want to cut up. Let's have arts and crafts. Let's have some arts and crafts, guys.
I have the collage. Listen, I got a nice little pair of scissors. I got my little X-Acto knife to cut out my collage stuff. Yeah.
These guys making vision boards? What's going on here?
I like collage. I don't know. I like a collage. I don't know why.
Hey, Steve, I'm about to manifest my fucking life, bro. Don't fucking come at me.
But yeah. I want to go get that. I need to get some brews. And there was something else that Coven had too that sounded really cool that I wanted to pick up too. So yeah, anyway, maybe this weekend when I test negative, I'll go out and do a little run around town, grab some brewskis. But in the meantime, I'm drinking a little beer. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called Sly Fox Pikeland Pills.
Oh, wow.
One I drink all the fucking time.
Where are they from?
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I think they're from, I'm not sure. I can't see anything on the can here. No, it's hashtag EMP, you guys.
I'm still waiting for that sponsorship.
Yeah, well, we'll get on it. Listen, I got to send an email to myself.
You know a guy?
Yeah, I got to send an email to myself. I keep forgetting. No, but I just, I fucking love this beer, and it's super fresh. So I'm just going to drink a 6-pack of this tonight. But I've drank it many times in the show, so I need to explain what it is. Steve, what do you got? You got anything?
I'm not back on beer yet.
Ooh.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. I was drinking
chocolate milk over there.
No, it was actually milk tea and coffee.
You know what?
little English breakfast and, mocha going. It's good.
There you go. You know what I've been drinking a whole lot of lately? Green tea.
Oh, yeah.
Drinking a fuckload of green tea and matcha and stuff like that. That's Steve's jam.
So you can pretend like you're healthy?
Well, I bought one of just a massive quantity of green tea from Costco.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 200 little things of green tea. I was like, well, there's enough green tea the rest of my whole damn life. So I've just been, it was like an impulse buy at Costco. So
I'll have to bring you guys some of the, I have this, black tea. I do enjoy tea a lot, so we'll sidebar this one. I love Earl Grey for the bergamot, of course, but I got this other English breakfast tea that has lavender and bergamot in it, and it's like something like the name of it's something silly like Mornings in Paris or something like that. like you have to do a shoulder shake with it.
It's just called Live, Laugh, Love.
Oh, God.
Pretty much, but it's like super good. Put a little like vanilla creamer in it, and you're getting kind of like a pseudo London fog thing, but with like a twist.
I like lavender because it makes me feel like I'm finally getting to eat those decorative soaps in my mom's bathroom when I was a kid that looks so good. I wanted to eat them because they look so delicious. They look like a delicious candy. Your mouth just starts watering
when you see soap now.
I do. I get when you go to one of those stores if you go to kind of a bohemian kind of flea market or like a hipstery type of market and you have the people who make all the soap, I just want to eat it.
Guys, Brian cannot go into Bath and Body Works. I want to eat all the soap.
Well, it just looks like they looks like delicious gummies and ice creams.
Forbidden cream savers.
Yeah, I just want to eat all the soap. I think I have a disease.
I like how I made that up, and I'm still thinking you're disgusting.
Yeah, you're a piece of shit. This scenario I played on my head, man. You're a real piece of shit. All right. So what else? Oh, is it safe to talk about our little thing that we were talking about for the Halloweens? Is that a thing that we should say?
No, I think it's
All right, guys. We'll wait then. We got a little teaser for you. We're going to do something fun for the Halloweens, potentially a little live situation.
Block off your entire October.
Block off October, guys. We're going to get fucking after it. We're going to get weird. We're going to eat mushrooms. We're going to get arrested. We're going to break out of jail. We're going to probably, I would imagine, commit arson. We're gonna do a whole series of fucked up things in October.
We're gonna get real stabby real fast. Just don't come near us.
Ready for October,
or actually come near us.
Yeah,
I won't stab you if you come near us.
Yeah,
I promise.
Don't wait. I can't stab anybody if they don't come near me.
It's like a tornado. Either you get sucked up in it or you get just devastated by it.
Yeah.
Make your choice now. What side do you want to be on?
We're ready.
Man, I really, really want us to cover Nope just from that comment alone.
Yeah.
We didn't see it, Meg, because you tried to kill us.
Yeah, we didn't see it. I would have liked to have seen it, but you gave me
Crovids. You saw the black phone and I tried to kill you, and I saw that too.
Yeah, because I have like a VPN. Of course I saw whatever I want, except for Nope.
You just haven't seen Nope yet. Go fucking see Nope so we can fucking talk about it, bro.
You know what I saw, guys?
Send me some zucchini bread.
Near Dark.
Yeah.
Which is a fucking blast, you guys. All right, let's get into this goddamn movie, squids. We don't have anything else we got to talk about, right? No,
nope.
We don't. We haven't said this in a while because a couple people actually did recently, which we very much appreciate. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go and fucking, first of all, subscribe, follow, do whatever you're supposed to do. Then go write us a little review. Not only do you give us one in 5-star situations or whatever the maximum number of stars is, but also go on and write a little thing. It could be like 8 words that say like, you guys are fucking turds, thank you. Or, I am a podcast listener, blah, blah, blah. Say whatever the fuck you want. All I'm saying is go give us a 5-star review. And then if you feel so inclined, take a screen grab of it, send it to us on the Instagrams and the DMs, and then I'll send you some fucking stickers if you want. And you know what? I'll probably throw some spooky little Halloween trinkets and bullshit I got laying around here as well. So
I like how you don't want people to say nice things, but I seek and I need people to validate me and tell me that I'm pretty. So tell us just be like, Megan, you sound pretty. Thank you. Yeah, give me the validation.
Yeah, just say whatever. Do whatever you got to do to make Meg feel good, and then say like,
I'm not going to therapy anymore. Give us supplement that in the reviews.
You are our mental wellness plan, you guys. So go ahead and don't say mean things, or I'll throw myself in front of traffic. So go ahead and do that. And like I said, if you want some stickers and some spooky ooky shit, I'll send it to you in the mail. Go ahead and shoot us a little DM there and say, hey, look, I did the thing. Okay.
Put the thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
Steve's
champ.
Steve's the champ.
Steve
I hate to admit it. It's really, I'm struggling to pull the words out of my mouth.
I think it ends tonight.
We'll see.
I feel this. I feel
heavy doubt. Heavy doubt.
Hard doubt.
I feel it.
All right. So Steve's the champ. Steve won in the month of July, which is a bullshit month. Everybody knows it. But he did win. It's not February, but it's still a bullshit month.
It's our anniversary month, isn't it? June is. Oh, yeah. Damn it.
Get your shit straight,
Get over it.
Steve.
Get the fuck over it.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Dinosaur behind you in your background. You don't even got a vampire.
It is a carnosaur, Meg. It is a carnosaur.
You got a
carnivorous dinosaur.
Carnosaur.
That seems like a double entendre where you just So
let's take a step back. Explain to me how that's a double entendre.
Okay. I might be using that incorrectly, but you use a carnosaur. It's not a carnivorous dinosaur. Dinosaurs can be carnivorous, so you don't say.
But you can also be an herb. Yeah, you do.
We don't just say herbisaurus.
You say herbisaur. Yeah, you say herbisaur.
It
turns out herbisaur is not so scary.
But that's what I'm saying is that just saying carnosaur just makes them more scary.
What you're saying is that the movie should have been called Dinosaur?
It should have been called T-Rex.
But
Velociraptor.
But there's nothing to say it was a T-Rex. It was genetically engineered. It could have been an Allosaurus, or it could have just been a brand new dinosaur.
Wasn't big enough to be a T-Rex.
Nope,
Certainly wasn't big enough to be an Allosaur. Get your fucking dinosaur straight.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna stay in my lane right now and keep with this ignorance.
I'm staying in the lane of ignorance.
I'm staying in the lane of I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I'm staying in the lane of COVID brain.
Did you guys ever see that video? I don't know who the fuck the guy is, but he's at the red carpet. I think it was a premiere of one of the newer Jurassic Park movies, and Steven Spielberg walks by and he just yells. He's he's on the red carpet doing an interview. I don't know who the fuck he is, but he goes, "Hey, you just in this for the money, or do you really love dinosaurs?"
You know what actually be really funny is if so Steven Spielberg directed Jurassic Park, right? Is that what we're talking about? I'm stupid right now.
Steven Seagal directed Jurassic Park.
Steven Soderbergh directed Solaris.
Okay, you guys can say whatever you want right now, but all I really want to get at for my joke is that if at the red carpet is the moment you see the director is you just instantly assume that he's a dinosaur and you start screaming and running away from him, and that's what I want to exist.
You assume he's a dinosaur. I gotcha.
Again, everyone, we still got the Corvid's brains. It's a real thing.
Turn off this episode. This is the first time I'm ever going to say it. Shut it off. This is
Megan's saying dumb things.
This episode is honestly going to just do you wrong. Let's get into these goddamn movies, you guys.
That's right.
Steve's got to tell us though what the order we're going to talk about him is.
That's right. Because I'm champ, so I decide.
Champ.
And it's been a while since Meg's going first.
That's fine.
So
Meg never goes first.
I know. Well, that's except for
so annoying.
Except for today.
I love going first.
Today, Meg will go first.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll keep it short and sweet. To the point.
Then you know what? I'll go in the middle.
Okay.
And we'll end with Brian.
Mistake.
Say the words
Big
for
mistake.
last.
Big mistake, guys. Big mistake.
Big mistake. Okay. All right, guys. Hi. How are you?
Good.
My name is Megan, and I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the 1977 American psychological horror film by George A. Romero called Martin, or as it's been internationally known as Vampire. I don't know if you guys caught that, which is pretty fucking great. And I think that's a pretty good intro.
Vampire?
Yeah, it's spelled
That's what she said.
Vampyr.
Is it really?
Yeah, the international release is like vampyr or with a W.
Vampyr, yeah.
Yeah, but you said
German.
vampire.
Well,
that's what she said.
That's pretty
Okay,
much
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it's not
Pretty much what I
vampire, but
said,
you know,
guys.
whatever.
I'm also from America. Did that make sense? So that works for me. So, cool. So this movie is starring John Amplas, but which I know he's played in other movies. I think what was he playing? Dawn of the Dead, Toxic Zombies, Knight Rider, Creep Show, Midnight. He's played in a lot of different like horror type movies, as well as, if you guys recall, the amusement park. We had what's his nuts, Lincoln Maisel.
Yep.
He was also one of our other lead characters in this, as well as Christine Forrest, who eventually married George Romero, and guys, my crush, Tom Savini.
Mr. Tom Savini, a young,
This was
supple.
I like that word. Definitely
unmustachioed.
I
Tom
wish
Savini.
he was in it more, but this was, from what I gathered, was one of the first collaborations he did with Romero. And I did confirm, because I didn't know if he just was acting in it or did some of the special effects, but he did do the special effects.
Yep, first time. And also, this is probably not the first. No, it's not the first. I don't think it's the first time. But one of the first times he worked with Michael Gornick as well, who was the cinematographer and also cinematographer Dawn of the Dead, and also the director of Creep Show 2 and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Sick. Thank you.
So a lot of Romero regulars.
Yeah.
Up in this bitch.
And I feel like this movie all around is like a very Romero film for like him having done like up to this point really being known for zombie films. This was like it was a good turn, and I think he really did an amazing job taking this concept of like the idea of vampires and basically creating his own version of it. You know, he's including a lot of his social commentary, which I think is like one of the biggest standing points for this film as like a vampire film. But basically the plot follows a troubled young man who believes that he is a vampire and basically is kind of being fed throughout the film. And we learn that Martin is this young man who basically goes to live with his cousin, Kuda, which how do you say his first name? I need to look at it. It's like Tata Kuda.
Oh, they say Cape Come Tata, which is like father, I think, in German, right? But, or is it German? But anyway, he said it's not his. I thought it was his uncle. Maybe I don't know. Anyway,
he says they're cousins. Yeah, it's extended family.
Maybe it's a second cousin situation or something like that. So, because he's way older. He's like 70-something-year-old man.
Right. He's a very old man, and when he goes to like meet Kuda, we learn that like he is going from living with another set of family. Martin is, who passed away in Indianapolis. Let me speak words. But like Kuda already has this understanding in his brain that he thinks Martin is a vampire throughout this whole thing. So he believes that the family is cursed with this like basically cursed to be vampires. So he believes Martin to be that way.
Or like it's a generational thing, and like one person each generation is.
Yes, exactly. Which is
cursed or something.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing. So, again, to not go through too much of all the plot points, but I will cover some of the things, is that with Martin, we basically understand he's a very troubled. He has like some mental issues. Like he kind of clearly is not necessarily just like a normal guy. And actually, you guys might appreciate this. And I don't know if you guys read enough to see this, that he was kind of described to basically be portrayed as like an incel before incel was ever really a term.
Yeah, it was weird. I did read up on it a little bit because I don't actually know a lot about this movie. I'd seen it before, but it had been a long time. And it sounds like this was originally supposed to be a little bit more straightforward vampire type flick. Right. And then George Romero saw this kid in like some sort of local production in Pittsburgh and was like, no, I want to like rewrite this whole thing about him and make him this, for lack of a better term, kind of this like shut in kind of incel type of character with all these like.
But at that time, like the incel wasn't really like a thing.
No,
it just
was like
was
a sexual, like sexually repressed in a way, like socially
very awkward. Yeah.
But also feels that he has some sort of he has like some sort of sense of entitlement around, and a very unhealthy attitude towards
but I don't
sex
think he
and
does
women.
it like in a pretentious or egotistical way, even though it's feeding off the ego. I think it's just coming from this like natural. He doesn't fuck. He just has like mental issues. Steve, did you have something to say? You were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, did you guys did it come across almost as if he was like on the spectrum in a lot of ways?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Because he like a lot of the time he's like kind of nonverbal with the way he talks to people. There's like one very specific scene where he's in the car with the housewife, and like she's kind of talking to herself, and like says, "If you don't like it, you can just get out," right? And then he takes that literally. Yeah. He takes that literally, and he's just like, okay, I'll leave now.
He definitely doesn't pick up on social cues well. And then also the non-vert, what do they call that? Like selective mutism or something like that almost, or something.
Perhaps.
And then even early, like Kuda like accuses him of being an imbecile, which we're
talking. I've told you're he's like, I've been told you're an imbecile.
Yeah,
which is such a sick burn. I was like, that's awesome.
Hey, in '76, that is a medical diagnosis. So.
Imbecile. You have imbecilism.
Yeah,
so,
you're an invalid because you're an imbecile.
Right.
Yeah. So this might be a side story, but like I feel like now with the knowledge we have about the spectrum of sorts, one of my close girlfriends, she just moved back to Pittsburgh from New York City, and we went on a walk, and she works with a lot of people who have like sort of like disabilities, a lot of people that are on the spectrum and stuff like that. And I think now, like after having that conversation, I feel like I even like see some of my conversations with people a lot differently, because at that time, we're talking in the 70s, like none of this stuff related to being on the spectrum was at all even on the table. They didn't fucking understand it. So even then, translating that to people who have like say ADHD or something else, I mean, I think the statistic is something like 1 in 5 people are on the spectrum, and it's in varying degrees. So like I think Romero like basically saw all these different traits and had this idea, and he wanted to like speak to that. And what I loved about and why I chose this movie is that I think like it leaves you asking a lot of questions. And as much as there's arguments for 10 out of 10 to say, like, there's nothing vampiristic about this movie, but I think there is like arguments for it being like, there's very like vampire characteristics to like what's going on. And what I love is that like he kind of uses this like meta fictional like technique to create like this familiarity throughout the story that like you recognize elements of like traditional vampire movies, but like also makes you question like the reality that we're watching throughout the entire film, because there's just all these kind of like they come across as like pseudo flashbacks or hallucinations, and then also we see things with Kuda where he's clearly calling him Nosferatu. He's like he's living in this very old world of like I know my family has this vampire curse, and then add this layer that Martin probably has some mental issues, but he's being fed that he might be a vampire. So now he's doing these things that are very clearly vampiristic, whereas throughout the film, he is, we have within the first 10 minutes, we have him doing his first kill, but he's so strategic about it. And then he exhibits, I think, like vampire tendencies where it almost feels like a need. But I think some of those things might be more ingrained in his brain. So that's why I love about this movie is I think there's a lot of conversations we could have back and forth that like break down what could make him actually a vampire, a non-traditional vampire where he can go out in the sun and he can live a normal life. and does want to like live off of blood, but he doesn't have to. But it's still this like innate desire that he has to connect with people and to basically control his victims and then drink their blood throughout. So like there's just so much more to it.
Well, it's also like it's the only way he can have intimacy with people too. I think I mean in that first opening scene, which is really kind of traumatic and creepy on the train. That like it becomes very clear very quickly that the only way that he can have any degree of emotional intimacy with anybody is when he has drugged them and or murdered them. So it's like, and
I also think it would be a unique take on the whole idea of being a vampire, like where he doesn't have to necessarily just immediately attack someone and kill them, but he could have this whole ritual, which I also think kind of plays into this idea where maybe he's just a serial killer.
Well, yeah, because the whole flashbacks and really their hallucinations and just like his ideation of how he wants things to go. Because he's romanticizing the Dracula myth of like, you know, in all those movies, the women give themselves over.
Right.
But then when he gets into the actual process of what he's doing, like it is such a stark contrast. And it's especially like apparent in that very first scene because the woman is just like, oh, you fucking sick pervert, you disgusting rapist.
Yeah, you
rapist. Know, like she's just completely like, she's crass.
And he cowers almost.
Oh yeah, he cowers. She's crass in the way that she fights back. So like there is no romanticizing it at all. He is a fucking villain. You know. So like
it's very stark. Like it's very. They don't pull punches in that early scene.
I don't know if you guys felt this way too throughout watching it. Is that I do agree. I'm like he is our villain. He is the one killing people, and he's doing it in this very strategic, planned out way where, you know, like exactly what you said, he drugs them, and obviously this drug doesn't kick in right away, so there's always a struggle. There's almost always a struggle there, and then he goes into like undressing, raping, and then killing ultimately and drinking their blood, and then going into cleaning himself, changing his clothes. Like he has this whole ritual throughout the whole thing with it. But you still almost have this like gripping, like sympathy for him as a person. I think throughout it.
Yeah, I think the idea is like the most clever way that they're spinning the vampire mythos is that it is a curse in a sense that he has apparently, and I don't know if this is the implication, but he has inherited this quote unquote curse, but it is really more of a generational trauma / genetic curse of mental illness and trauma, because like Kuda, you get the idea of like he's obviously suffering from mental illness in a very significant way, and I think the idea is like between the generational like abuse and trauma that's happening in their family and potentially even the genetic implications, which I think they're suggesting, and especially in 77 or whenever this is, maybe they didn't have as clear of an indication of what that meant. Now all of a sudden you have these two different people, him and his cousin, I guess. Who what's the woman in there? What relation is she to him?
She is the she's not a she's a granddaughter. She's
Kuda's granddaughter.
Right.
And anyway, there's some like once removed type relationship. She is dealing with it in I don't want to say necessarily a more healthy way. Yeah, a more healthy way.
But she's trying to be rational about it.
Yeah,
I feel
she's getting the fuck up out. Like she's like, she recognizes it and she's out. He is not. It's got a grip on him, like in like a death grip on him.
But and some of the things I read in like looking into all of like the nuances of their relationship again, because I feel like I think one of the best things this movie did is that like it makes you question things throughout the whole thing about the relationships between people and understanding where they're coming from. And like, so I think she's approaching everything in a very rational way, where Kuda is still stuck in this old world. Whereas like I feel like it's almost every time we see him, even, you know, we have this flashback, and it almost brings you to this old world mentality of what like this vampire lifestyle could have been, you know, thinking maybe 100, 200, 300 years ago. And I kind of liked that contrast, because I feel like Kuda's very much so stuck in this like old way, but granted, he could be also very naive. And then and I don't know if it would have actually been Alaire. I don't have any evidence to say this, but like if Romero ever has any sort of like ties between some of his movies, like after seeing, you know, Kuda as like his character in Music Park, you know, he definitely plays on all this like social commentary of like growing old, and also like even just these like family dynamics, and as well as like being a man in the 70s and having mental health issues. Like I think he brings all of these elements into this movie that like when you're able to like step back and actually look at the story as a whole, you're left with a lot more questions at the end of the day. And talking about like I'll like kind of veer and pivot a little bit here, talking about Christina and Martin's relationship, is that I feel like she is still really kind to him throughout this, even though like Kuda doesn't want him to like go near her or go in her room. And he made that very clear, because Kuda was basically like, you're not allowed to go in my room. You're not allowed to go in Christina's room. You can't do any of this. Because basically he's under the assumption that if he doesn't invite you into a room, then you can't fucking go into that room. And Christina offers him a telephone. And this is where I think another act in the story is like a pretty significant part. And we kind of get that almost like halfway through, where Martin starts calling into this like radio station and starts talking about what he's doing. And I actually, as much as I think there's a reality to him doing that, I think if we look at it a little differently, I think I almost started questioning if he's actually calling into anyone. And I think that's like an interesting thing, where he wants to talk about what he's doing, but I feel like he could be on the phone, but I don't think he's talking to anyone but himself. And he's creating this character, and maybe there's like this like schizophrenic type thing going on in his brain.
Well, there could be. I didn't think about that. It could be. I wonder to what end of this, like in the context of the story, to what end would that?
I think it's like an understanding of who he is. You know, this is like an environment where it's like, because I think this movie could actually, I'm going to just like TM this. This would be a cool movie to redo, but a prequel to his time in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that might be fun. Actually, I think there's a sequel already. It's called Vampire's Kiss. It stars Nicolas Cage, and it's way, way better. Did you guys know that Lincoln Maisel was born in that Colonel Sanders suit and died in it?
Yeah.
I
was very aware of that.
Yeah.
Wait, he did change it one time. He was in a black suit at one point, if you guys recall.
Yeah, one time he was in a black suit, and one time he was in his delicatessen wear, and that's more costume changes than he had in the amusement park, but it's still the same.
In his entire life, too. And actually, I was looking up on Wikipedia as well. Did you know that he actually died from drowning an old lady puss? That was... That's how he died in real life.
He died drowning in Braddock Snatch.
Oh my god,
Braddock Snatch. We should say this is shot in Pittsburgh, and a lot of it is shot right in downtown Braddock. When Braddock was still, you know, a thriving mill town, which it is certainly not anymore, although it's been revived quite a bit. But although there was the one scene, I actually was sent this to Kate and my mother-in-law too, who are from Monroeville. That scene where he goes and drops off I think it's groceries or something to the housewife that he ends up fucking. That's definitely in Monroeville. That's in one of 3 neighborhoods in Monroeville.
Totally makes sense.
That's in like Turnpike Gardens or Alpine Village or University Gardens. Like that's in one of there are 3 neighborhoods in Monroeville that were all built in the 50s that are all like boomer houses that look exactly like that and are on hills just like that. Like I've seen that house in real life for sure. I just don't know what street it's on. But
we could probably Google it. I'm sure sure we could find the shooting location. That'd be fucking amazing. Yeah, and I think that was like when we were talking about choosing movies, I know, Steve, you made a comment about it being a very slow movie, but I felt like this was an hour and a half, and I felt like I wasn't bored with it throughout it, and I didn't find myself bored even rewatching it, because I feel like between just the way the shots are created, it kind of felt like almost this like it felt like a Romero film, but it also felt like this like a little bit of a documentary, and I kind of enjoyed even seeing the shots, especially like seeing the city a little bit more.
That the theatrical cut, I think, is fairly well paced. It definitely drags at points for me. But if you watch the director's cut, which is what I watched last time I watched it, it's a fucking slog. How did you find that?
It's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The director's cut's like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's brutally slow at times.
I could see that being the case. I know I was talking to, because I posted about covering this movie, and I had 2 people reach out to me, and one of them actually has the soundtrack on vinyl.
Oh,
and
sick.
I was really excited about that.
Killer soundtrack. It has a great jazz score by Donald Rubinstein. Awesome jazz score in this movie. Weird score. Like, just there is this is going to sound a little bit dramatic, but there is a feel for me of like what a 70s Pittsburgh soundtrack sounds like. And like Pittsburgh's a very like jazz oriented town. Like there's a great history of jazz in Pittsburgh. And like when I think about like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and old like QED shows, WQED, which was the first PBS station in the country, first like public radio or public broadcasting station in the US, I think, or one of them.
Yeah, it was one of the first public broadcasting, but we also had the first radio in KDKA. So
KDKA too, yeah. So we have a very long history of public broadcasting in Pittsburgh, but really great jazz history and a lot of really good jazz scores and shots that are in local cinema that was shot here. And this is like one of the great examples, I think.
Yeah,
I would buy this on vinyl, I guess is what I'm saying. And
right. Well, it exists, and someone did, and someone owns it. But I think that conversation even started like this train of like how kind of cultish this movie is. And I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that you can like really start questioning every ounce of it because of all the social commentary that like Romero brings into the film. But also there's like a lot of things that confuse you. There could be an argument. I think there's more of an argument for he's
like
not really
sexually confusing when I see Tom Savini and like I want to like
I don't think you're sexually confused at all, dude. I think you're very clear, and you are now have a boner by thinking about his name.
This is clear.
Think about his name, thinking about his bowl cut.
Think about his mustache. Like all these things, yeah.
You know what the thing is though, is like I still think about that like birthday picture he posted when he was like, I'm 75, and I'm like, that to me is
that's
spank
peak
bang.
sex. That's
spank
peak
bang
sex
material.
Yeah.
Where did I get cut off there?
I don't know. You cut yourself off.
You just got really horny and got all confused. Did you guys think about
horny brain, COVID brain?
Yeah. How about so this is like a little bit off. So the guy, the lead guy, I don't know if you said his name. I don't think he was really in a whole lot else. He was like more of a stage actor, I believe. But the guy who plays Martin, right?
John Amplis, like
he has a very distinct look.
He's like right up your alley. You like ugly people.
I like characterful faces. Yeah. He looks like, here, I'm gonna throw out, and I sat there the whole movie going, who does he look like? God damn it, he reminds me of somebody. Here's what he looks like. Cross between, perfect 50-50 cross between the lead singer of Him, you know the band Him?
Right,
okay, yeah.
And Rusty from European Vacation.
Oh, God. That's not terribly wrong at all.
Yeah, he looks like a perfect combination of the guy from Him and Rusty. Oh. Specifically European Vacation Rusty.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I remembered where I was before
but then
you wanted to talk about
so I take all that
he doesn't fucking suck. Do you think he actually sucked as this character? I think he played a great incel.
It was good later. It was good early, and then in the middle he didn't like. It was weird because for a stage actor, you would thought he would have been like projecting more, and I feel like he just, in certain scenes, he just was like, I don't know, maybe that was the character choice, but he just was like a fucking dud in certain scenes.
Sure. Well, I mean, this was one of his earlier films, but I would be curious to like go back because I didn't really watch a lot of, I couldn't remember him from like talking about Dawn of the Dead or like some of the other stuff that he was in.
No, I don't even remember him that he was in Dawn of the Dead. What was he in Dawn of the Dead?
I think he was just uncredited. It says second man on roof, but I think he just like kept
he was just
working
some
with
dickhead. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, I don't remember him in Dawn of the Dead.
He played in Day of the Dead. He played the doctor, Ted Fisher.
Oh, shit.
So not Frankenstein, but
no, not Dr. Frankenstein.
Right,
his like
buddy.
assistant guy. Yeah. Okay. They never made the connection that was him.
So I mean, this being one of his earlier like scenes, so maybe he could be like kind of a stage actor at that point, but like I still think for this character, I felt like there was this like authenticity to like what he did.
Yeah, it wasn't
like,
a bad performance.
Like you felt the things you were supposed to feel about him, but I think what I was getting at was like this becoming such like a culty film, and again, I think it goes back to just like all the different themes and like the stories and the things that you can like derive from it, and like things you can actually like. It leaves you with like the idea that you can still create, like you could probably watch it a few times and be like, oh, I didn't notice that before, and this is kind of maybe changing my opinion about where this is, but like partially going back to that like metafictional like type idea where we're like kind of coasting along this idea where there are like vampire tropes throughout the whole thing, but like, is he a vampire? Is he? You have that question throughout the whole thing. And even to the point where Agoraphobic Nosebleed fucking uses like one of the pictures on one of their albums. Soft Cell actually wrote a song about this story. And I thought this was just like all very interesting, like side things that I found.
Like Tainted Love, Soft Cell?
Yeah.
Oh, what's it called?
Martin.
I love how you say Martin. I love how you don't pronounce the T, so it sounds like you're talking about the TV show from the 90s.
I'm from
Martin.
Western
You're so crazy.
New York. We're nasally as fuck.
Martin.
No, it's Martin. They're like it's like the T is almost in the inflection when you just like go to the N, so it's Martin. Yep. That's little Western New York.
You know what I like? When Martin does his flying syringe move, it's like his finisher, where he just like lays out and hits somebody with a syringe.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a great.
You make sure he gets it in there
a couple times. Yeah, he does a couple of times.
Just to jump back a little bit to like the performance, like I kind of see what Brian was saying about it kind of feeling like a dud, but I think that's more about the film itself just having like a meandering pace to it. Like he
it's more like a character study.
So he doesn't he like from scene to scene he doesn't necessarily have a goal or a ticking clock really. He's just kind of existing as like this, this weird guy. And then every now and then he gets the urge that he has to kill.
Yeah, he gets all shaky, but he doesn't know how there's no really exact intervals or anything like that. And I actually like the idea, Meg, that you were talking about of like maybe he's not actually talking to anybody on the phone because it's a really clever way to get some exposition and some insight into how he feels about himself, because you don't really get that otherwise because he doesn't really talk a lot. So it is a clever,
which is why I think that he's not talking to anyone, because why would he all of a sudden be okay talking to a DJ when he doesn't talk to anyone?
If that's the case, though, why is it over the credits with everybody asking what happened to him when he's dead?
When he's dead, that was going to be my point. Was that's why I think that's not true, but I like the thought exercise of imagining whether or not it is. But even if it's not, I still think it's a good device.
I just like almost feel like this movie feels in a way like a slow burn, like we're slowly getting to know someone, but like and this is why I think a prequel would be a really cool like sequel to the whole story. And in understanding where he was, because I'm curious if like when he's settled in a place, like is this like this wave or like arc that he goes through where he's just like slowly getting comfortable and slowly opening up and slowly become and like just still being who he is throughout the whole thing. And it just like feels like this slow burn where I don't think like at the end of the day, if I'm looking at this, I don't think at the end of the day he is an actual like in any sort of traditional sense of vampire. But I think what's cool about it is that he believes himself to be because of these like familial curses and these familial stories that are being fed into him, and he's just like has a mentally deranged. And so then when he like snaps out of it and is almost basically lucid, so when he's talking to Kuda, for example, and he's constantly like, no, these are just like stories, these are fantasies, yet he still does all the other things.
Well, I think his whole thing is like he never wavers in his belief that he's a vampire, but I think that what he is thinking that he is thinking that he has a handle on it because he's the first one in his family to understand that it's not all the superstition, garlic and crosses and all that shit. And he's the first one to kind of understand that. And he's trying to get that through Kuda's head. So he's trying to process it, but not doing a great job. And then you have his cousin or whatever her relationship is to him, where she's almost getting to a point where she is even a younger generation, perhaps. And now she is becoming even a little bit more self-actualized and a little bit more distant from the generational trauma in the sense that she's able to understand that it's not real at all and it's 100% in his head.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like this nature versus nurture thing where like part of it, like it's nature, but you can kind of overcome it. Like he's become this quote unquote vampire in a literal sense that he drinks blood, but he's not like a storybook vampire because of this family curse. But the curse is mental illness and generational trauma.
Right. This goes like from 0 to 60 and basically what I would consider the third act when he is sleeping with the depressed housewife. And so he's developing this relationship. And so now he's seeing his urges be different. And I feel like at that moment when he's starting to see this change within his own self, we're also then seeing the reality of life around him where, and this is where that ego, I think, comes into play is like the moment because he's only seeking out women. So we clearly only see that. And so it's deeper. It's not just this vampiric
It's very sexually motivated. The whole thing is 100% sexually motivated. Totally. And he doesn't understand that this is a stand-in for it. Yeah.
The moment he's getting his dick wet, he's just like, I don't know what I want. I don't know who to kill. I don't.
And he never makes the connection that like, oh, the urges go down now that I'm fucking.
The movie is awesome in that way is that when that's happening, though, we're seeing like this social commentary on real life with women in society where men are just constantly harassing women because that whole montage of sorts when he's talking to himself and being like, I don't know what I actually want, or talking to himself or to the DJ, he's just like, he doesn't know, like, why doesn't he know who to pick? He's like, it just used to be really easy for me. But while we're watching that happen, we're seeing all of these women be like harassed in public by different men on the street, like throughout that whole time. Then we go to like the scene where he finds someone. He's like, I'm gonna go after this person, and like all hell breaks loose, and he kills again, but ends up killing a man and ends up sucking his blood. And then police come in. Like, you know, we have this like almost like riot type scene where things are just like uncontrollable at this point.
Yeah. I think also like at that point I think that is, so the whole, I think, subtext of the movie is him thinking he needs to feel a certain way. And I think there's really strong like gay undertones to the movie too.
You
where
think so?
I do.
Can you talk to me about it? I'm actually, because I didn't get that.
I think it's because he thinks he needs to act a certain way. He doesn't feel a certain way. And I think he is very conflicted about his sexuality, and he has created this surrogate for sex with a woman that he can feel the connection, the emotional connection, all that sort of thing. I don't necessarily think he's gay, but I think maybe he's bisexual or wants to explore his sexuality a little bit more.
Do you think it's that, or do you think it's just simply that he never like was educated properly on.
I think it's both things. I think that's why he's so repressed and everything.
I honestly don't know if I actually would have derived that from this story, but I think like what Steve was getting at is that I think it's more about like if he grew up in a situation where he didn't really have a like mother and a father, he was always like tossed around from person to person, that like he is conflicted and confused about like what emotional connection is. And so all he knows is this very surface level idea that, okay, my connection with people is like on a sexual level, and this is what I should want, and this is what I should need. And this is why I think it's like mostly women that he goes after, is that he's still looking for this like even nurture thing within that, because he kind of like thinks that's what he needs. So I don't know if I really got this bisexual thing. I think I more so see it as like the trauma.
Bisexual is not, maybe that's not the right term, but this kind of idea of like maybe he would be somebody who, if he was born 40 years later, would identify as just like queer potentially. Yeah. But he has this whole thing of,
or maybe it's just his inability to express like kinks that he has, because you know, whatever his situation of growing up is likely wildly religiously repressed, because again, it is the 70s, and we already see it in Kuda of how like strictly crazily orthodox religious he is, to the fact that, you know, like Kuda rejects like a newer priest because he doesn't have, you know, he doesn't give him the right answers.
Yeah. I mean, the whole generational trauma, religious trauma, and all that stuff, and abuse within the family is like very.
But it's just like old world versus new world too. I think there's a lot of like themes throughout it and stuff like that.
He's trying to force himself into a mold that, you know, that's obviously society has set forth for him. Like, for example, like, I need to dominate women. I need to take from women what I want, you know, and it's just like all those guys on the street, you know, harassing, like verbally harassing, even physically harassing women, like on the street throughout the movie. He thinks that that's what he needs to get from women. But what he really is getting is just intimacy. And then when he starts to actually have sex, he is confused by how that differs from what he gets from the preying on them as a vampire thing. So like the thing we haven't talked about is like when after he starts having sex with the I forget her name, but she's that kind of bored, depressed housewife woman.
Abby or something like that.
Yeah, he's not really keen on the whole idea at first, but he knows instinctually that's what she's looking for.
Yeah.
But he even says to her at some point, like, okay, I've decided that I'm here for sex and that's what you want from me, so let's do this. And he feels all of a sudden like, oh, now I'm doing the thing a man should do now. But then when she belittles him intellectually and basically says like, that's why I like you, is because you don't have opinions. Now all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm not the dominant aggressor that I thought I was in this sexual relationship. So then not coincidentally, but accidentally has that kind of relationship with the guy too.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that kind of throws him for a loop as well. So I guess that's where I got that. That's where I was getting those tones from.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can understand that. I think it just comes from more this like naivety that I think he's almost like this. It's like almost like this id complex. And also he's like still, I think, in a childlike form in his brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think he's like, you know, he clearly he has no experience in anything. And I think like his lack of human connection, I think, is also a big part of these relationships that he's thinking that he needs to develop, which is also, I think, translated into how he sees himself as a vampire and why he has the ritual that he has, because this is how he realizes how he can have human connection with a female.
Yeah.
And find love of sorts, or feel love, but also feel like a connection with someone. But yeah, guys, this movie.
Yeah, I like this movie.
Love it?
Yeah. Like, I do like this movie a lot, actually.
I think
and
the
this
more
was
I think
George
about it, the more I learn.
Romero's.
Yeah.
George Romero was known to say that this was his favorite movie of his too.
I did pull this quote too, that he's like, he said Martin is designed to that all those supernatural monsters that are part of our literary tradition are, in essence, expressions of ourselves. They're beasts we've created in order to exorcise the monsters from within us. I tried to show in Martin that you can't just slice off this evil part of ourselves and throw it away. It's a permanent part of us, and we'd better try and understand it. And I think that's like literally what he fucking did. Is like, this is like this whole series of Martin slowly trying to understand what he's doing, even if he's not consciously doing it. It's not like he's like, hey, I should go to therapy. I think I like drinking people's blood and killing people. I should go to therapy for this. But it's like, no, he's just literally very conscious of the behaviors, and he's conscious of what his cousin's doing. And I'm assuming that maybe like in the previous living situation that wasn't the case, but like Kuda kind of knew what he was doing. So again, I would love to see a prequel to this. But yeah, no, I love even just like reading more. The more I got to know this movie on the level of like learning that it's like, was George Romero talks about it being one of the best movies he feels like he ever did, but also just like the cult following, because I think it questions a lot of things. I think it allows you to have discussions like we're having now, where like it's cool to break down all these scenes, and it's all derived from this idea of what vampires are. Yeah. So I don't know if I have much else to say besides that. I think the last scene of Martin getting killed, spoiler alert, I think that was the perfect way for this to end. I really do. I think like Kuda, like giving into his intuition, saying that, hey, I believe him to be a vampire, and he's not going to stop, because that was also when Martin was kind of like going a little crazy and like killing a lot of people, like killing more people in a shorter period of time, because he didn't have that instinct anymore of like, I need to find one person. He was just like, he was getting the thing he needed. So now he's like, I don't know what to do, but I need to keep killing people. And so Kuda killing him at the end, I think was like perfect. And it was like stake in the heart. Again, going back to the vampire tropes, and I liked that. So that's Martin, and I'm glad I didn't go through scene by scene, because that I think this conversation was way better than I could have expected it.
You thought we weren't going to like the movie?
No, I thought you guys were just going to shit on it, but I didn't choose a movie that had religious undertones. So fuck you guys.
Well, they're overtones.
Yeah, they're
very more overtones than undertones.
Okay, no, but not in the same way. I learned less things about Jesus in this one.
Yeah, they're very surface level.
Kuda was our, Jesus.
I mean, it helps that I'm pretty sure Romero was more or less atheist, and like a lot of his films have an anti-religious bend to them, as you can see in this film, that he just kind of, you have rejections of religion, and how it's just portrayed as a lot of magical hokum. So I like this movie too. I've seen it a long time ago, and then I feel like I've seen the director's cut. And that may be why I was like, oh, this movie's going to be so long to sit through. I can't believe.
Right. Well, same. I think the first time I saw it was the director's cut, because I think that's what I had on at some point on DVD or VHS or something. Probably not VHS, but I was expecting to go into this going like, this movie's a slog, because that's how I remembered it. But then I actually really, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. It drags a couple at points. There's definitely some dragging still, in my opinion, but overall, I like it. I like this movie. I like movies of this era and this feel as well too.
One other story from that conversation I had with a guy that was into the movie then when I posted it. So we were talking about the director's cut, and he was just like, I'm pretty sure I saw the reel for it go on an auction for pretty crazy. And when I clicked on the link, he found the link, and it was like the assumed price that this would sell for was like $2,000 to $3,000, but it actually went for $50,000. Like this, the actual reel of the director's cut of this film is kind of fucking cool.
I was gonna say $2,000 to $3,000. That's a fucking steal.
I know.
Feels like for a Romero director's cut. Yeah.
For something that was more or less considered lost for a long time, but.
Well, and also this was banned in the UK. This was some of the countries who were censoring shit around this time. This was on the not the video nasties list, because that was a little later, but this was definitely this was banned in, I think, multiple countries.
Well, also too, so part of that conversation we had is that this guy, his name's Tyler, who was talking to, so I'm not saying weird things, but he said that the person who owns the rights to it in America, like, I guess has been kind of a jag about like doing.
Is that why you don't hear about it?
Yeah.
Right, but people in the UK, whoever's the rights in the UK, they're trying to remaster it into like a 4K version of it, as well as I think Dawn of the Dead too. So, which is cool. So hopefully we'll be able to find it online, I'm sure, eventually.
Yeah, it's out there. Yeah.
Send me that zucchini bread.
Yeah, it's on the YouTubes. I watched it on the YouTube.
Yeah, that's where I watched it too.
Oh yeah,
no.
So if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this now, go fucking watch it on YouTube.
I didn't feel like digging out my DVD, but also,
I don't own this one. This is one of the few Romero films I don't own.
Yeah.
I think I might have at one point, but I don't now.
Well, just one last.
I have tarantulas.
Oh, great. Just one last thing before we move on, though. We mentioned how Lincoln Maisel's suit makes a reprise. Did we also just notice that the marching band was back as well?
Oh my God! Yeah, yes, walking right down the middle of the street in Braddock. I was waiting.
Absolutely.
I forgot about that because I was waiting for some fucking picnic chicken to pop up there too, but it never did.
Oh, and no, there was one line we skipped over it because we didn't really go scene by scene. But there's the scene, the first scene in the deli, where all those cackling women are going off, and the one lady, Mrs. Bellini, says she's critical of Martin moving in with the granddaughter living there as well.
Yeah.
And she's like, they shouldn't be living together, and Kuda's reply is, Mrs. Bellini, my family knows how to behave. Which has an implication that Mrs. Bellini family doesn't know how to not cousin fuck.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that was a sick burn. He actually has a couple between the imbecile one and that. Like, he actually has a couple of sick burns.
Yeah, it's just like Mrs. Bellini's Italian household of cousin fucking cannot get over it.
A whole bunch of dirty block cousin fuckers.
Oh my God,
that's the implement.
The raviolis are filled with something other than meat.
We can't have boys and girls in the same house because they'll just get it on.
they'll just automatically fuck each other. I forgot about that. That was a funny scene. It was like, I really would have liked to have seen, Kuda's character like interacting with all the old biddies in the neighborhood a little bit more too. So. All right.
Yeah. So Martin motherfucking ruled.
It's all right.
No one's ever expressed that type of enthusiasm about Martin before, but it is a good movie.
It's a good movie.
I just did because even just like talking to you guys about it, because I feel like I already walked into this being very excited and very happy with my choice, but then we talked exactly how I wanted us to talk about it. So
if I'll put it this way, if I didn't know that this was a George Romero movie and I wasn't watching it through that lens of like a Pittsburgh native George Romero fan, I probably wouldn't care about it at all.
No, but I feel like you might have though had appreciation, because I do think there are like, I feel like if you looked at it, I mean, I feel like you can't look at it without knowing it's a George Romero film, and I don't know if that really makes it like the cult classic that I feel like it is actually, like, because I mean, I really didn't know much about it before we started looking into it. When I was deciding to watch it or figure out what movie to watch, and I watched this one, I was like, this is a great film. And it's George Romero. Fuck it.
I've been meaning to rewatch this for a while. Actually, what was it, a couple years ago? It was like No. It was only last year, because it was not long after we started the podcast when I was chatting with Michael Gornick at Living Dead Weekend, and I bought that print that print off him, or that animation cell off him, and I was talking with him for a while. He had some really cool memorabilia there from Martin, and we talked about that movie a little bit, there, and I've been like, damn it, I got to rewatch that because it's been some years. Yeah, my aunt was a big Romero fan and had like everything on VHS, DVD, all that stuff. So it had been probably 10 years since I saw this movie. So I liked it more than I remembered liking it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, same. it's still kind of a blasé and meandering, and the performances aren't great, and a lot of the set dressing is very ugly, and the dialogue isn't amazing.
The set dressing is 1976.
Right.
That's the set dressing.
Yep. Whatever you say, Steve.
Yeah, that's what I do say.
You're a slog fest tonight.
You're a fucking slog. All right, get into it here, Steve. What movie did you pick here?
Yes.
Some Swedish bullshit.
Yeah, some Swedish bullshit.
Okay. I know why he chose it. I feel like I know why both of you guys chose your films too. Is sometimes I feel like you guys think you're gonna like play me to win. Sometimes
not everything's about you, Meg.
It really is.
Everything is about me. I feel like you guys do it more often than not. You're like, Megan, we gotta work her.
No, it's just both Brian and I had this movie on our list because it's an amazing film.
I picked a Western Gothic horror and Steve picked a Swedish film.
Exactly. But you both had cowboy boots, so.
We sure did.
That's true. Oh, yeah. I forgot Steve said cowboy boots as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so my film is Let the Right One In from 2008, directed by Thomas Alfredson, and, starring a bunch of Swedes. It's
starring Hurdy Burter and Hurdy Burter.
Excuse me?
Look, it was written by Lindquist. You have to assume he played in one of the hockey leagues for a minute.
Yeah.
But
he's an OHL guy, I think. Yeah.
I'm going to pass over all of this. You're not winning me over right now and making fun of Swedes.
It's not. Hey, they made a very fine movie. They made an excellent film because what they made.
They've made some of the most influential horror movies. I mean the what was the one that was Swedish? The Ghost, the Phantom Carriage. That was Swedish, wasn't it?
Sure. And then Insomnia, the original Insomnia was a great film.
Ingmar Bergman, and he's got a couple of big ones. Those are. I don't know if they're. I mean, they are horror. They're more thriller, horror, cult movies, but anyway.
Still, great additions to the world of cinema is what they are. But
they eat gross fermented fish things,
right? So
which
they are strong.
That's right.
They are strong of stomach.
As Meg chugs a Bushlight apple or whatever.
I'm actually chugging a herring ale right now. Just like drinking like the juice from a herring, like pickled herring. I actually did.
I had smoked pickled herring yesterday. I had some. I
don't believe you.
I do. I have another can of it downstairs. Kipping. What do they call them? Hey, kippers.
Yeah, kippers.
Whatever. I don't know. Kippers. Yeah, I had some kippers. I made like a little salad spread on some crackers with some kippers.
Oh, fun.
Oh, that's just so cute.
I'm more Swedish than you, is what I'm saying.
Well, then you should both enjoy this film just as much then.
But there was no pickled herring eating.
You don't know that. You didn't see.
No, they're little.
No, I do know that because I watched herrings? It.
Oh, you mean in the movie there weren't any herrings? Yes.
You don't know.
I assume they all had bellies full of herring.
Yeah. Just because they ate them off camera doesn't mean that they didn't eat them. But yeah, they're
just eating very pickled herring blood too.
Herrings pickled in blood. Yeah, I knew you were gonna make that noise. I would bet $1,000.
I fucking did it.
Pickled herrings in blood.
Ryan, you don't know me.
That's an album name. Pickled herrings in blood.
All right. Calm down.
Okay, go fucking cover this movie. This sad movie.
It's not a sad movie. It's a coming-of-age tale.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's a coming-of-age tale as well as...
this is the Swedish Goonies.
Yeah, this movie rules.
This is the Swedish Goonies.
The young boy, Oscar, is living in one of those depressing, dark, just kind of whatever, like housing tenements. Where just like nobody has like a real identity or anything. They're all stuck there. And
it's fucking cold and dark.
Right.
10 months a year.
Yeah, there's no sun. Everybody's upset. But, he has his cowboy boots, and that makes him happy.
But they still get holidays, so they're happier than any American.
Yeah, they actually get to take off work occasionally. Right. That's nice.
But, Oscar's living in a tenement with his mother, and then across just right across next door, they have some new tenements move in, and it appears to be a father and daughter. But you learn that the daughter's actually a vampire.
Goddamn Dracula. Although they never actually say it.
Yeah, I mean, so I want to talk about their relationship for 2 seconds. Like, do you think he's just like her familial? Is that what it's called? A familiar?
I don't think it's like a familiar type of relationship. I think it's much more.
Really, I took it as he was.
I kind of felt that because of the way she treats him. It's like, what are you kind of good for?
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be like someone she knew when she was actually 12 or something, and who just like
I took it as he has been her familiar, servant, whatever. He has been her kind of companion / but she definitely
I think it's much more. I think companion's more appropriate, because I think what you see in the film is the kind of Oscar essentially being groomed to be the next one.
Exactly. So, but I guess I think the dude who is her, what's his name? Goddamn. The older guy.
I don't know.
Who in the early scenes hangs the other dude upside down. Basically the guy who's getting food for her.
Hakan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he has been her familiar for some, like, since he was a kid.
See, I think,
right.
I think, like, when I hear familiar, I just always think of, like, there's an animal usually, and that's usually also, like, more associated with witchcraft. Like, I think you're thinking of, like, it's a Renfield kind of.
Well, I mean, even in like watching like What We Do in the Shadows, and like I think that's like the newest vampire type thing I watch, and like we have
vampires have familiars.
Yeah, but I think it's more like you're thinking of it as like a Renfield kind of situation, where I don't think it's like that. I think it's much more of like a companionship, and the character Hakan actually has like kind of a love and appreciation for her.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not like servitude out of like being, I don't know, glamored or whatever. It's much more.
No, but he is definitely willing to like do the things that someone who is an indentured servant of sorts,
right,
is willing to do. Like,
and I think it's more that he's turned his life, because again, we're seeing it happen at the end with Oscar, as Oscar sacrifices that guy to her, and Oscar begins to travel with her in the end. You see the way it starts, but you also see the way it ends with Hakan being just unable to keep up with the demands, but I don't even think like he is her first in this situation.
No, most likely not. Yeah,
because they make mention of like, she considers herself 12 years old, but she says she's been 12 years old for a long time. She doesn't remember her birthday. Like, even if Hakan was like her first, you would remember at least a lifetime. Yeah,
I take it as she's a couple hundred years old, probably. Or whatever.
She's just been doing this for a long time. But so the film essentially is a coming of age story, because Oscar is a young 12-year-old boy. He's getting bullied at school, but also he's starting to discover girls, and it just so happens like a girl that he's falling for is moved right across the street, or right next door.
Can I make one statement that might just like put a wrench in this entire conversation, and I hope it does, is that basically, so do we say her name? Ellie. Ellie is that her being as old as she is and like actively pursuing a relationship with Oscar, she's kind of a pedophile.
Yeah, I don't think that puts a damper in the. How does that throw a wrench in anything?
I feel like it makes it really awkward. Like the moment I realize, I'm like, she's clearly telling him that she's like really fucking old, yet she's still like.
She doesn't though.
Holding. She doesn't
till like very late in the film.
No, I mean, it's not even that late. I feel like it's like at least like once we have their relationship established and like she stays the night with him and she's like cuddling him. And I'm just like, I'm now feeling a little icky right now.
Yeah, but
vampires aren't cool. Yeah. Like, we'll be very clear. Like, vampires are not cool.
Vampires are not fucking cool.
They're not like consent. They're not asking for consent or anything. Like, I think we're all on the same page.
They need to be asked to come in, but they're not asking for consent.
How is it?
Yeah. You need to be asked to go inside of a door, but you don't need to ask for consent.
Hey, Meg, how was that the creep part for you and not the part where she killed a person? Like, took their life?
Because we assume and we know she's a fucking vampire.
You're going to hate when you get to my movie.
Yeah.
And the character of Homer, he's not cool.
Yeah, he's got a lisp. What a doof.
Fucking doof.
Dude, I cannot wait to talk about it.
It's a fucking classic.
But yeah, the other side of this film is it's a series of collapsing dominoes. In that you have Hakan, who is out there murdering to get blood, so Ellie doesn't have to go out on her own and doesn't have to be subject to getting caught killing or whatever that would bring upon them. Doesn't have to reveal her identity to the world. But he begins to fail. And because he fails, she has to kill. And then, the local next door app finds out about it. And, it becomes a pursuant series of events that, while Oscar is basically in the dark about all of this and thinks he's just falling for a weird girl, the world is becoming more violent and real around him. So, I thoroughly enjoy this film for the way that it kind of it protects Oscar in like giving him this relationship that makes him stronger, but it also, like you were saying, Meg, it is very much a groomer, destructive relationship.
Yeah, like what is making him stronger is also the thing that's gonna like also trap him in a different situation. So I kind of saw it as like this film where we clearly see he's probably in a poor situation. Like he's not like, he doesn't have a lot of money. So his parents' relationship clearly affects him. And then she is just this new outlet for him. And I think she kind of sees that, but maybe she also needs it. So she approaches it, I think, in a very empathetic or sympathetic way to a certain extent, where she's just like, I do care about you. I do love you. And the relationship almost comes off as genuine, but like it's a substitution for what he was already dealing with. And then at the same time, we're watching him grow and be stronger as a human because of it. So you're like, I love this almost like pseudo like love story that's going on in this coming of age of like this relationship developing, but at the same time, it's just like, it's also, like you said, it's very destructive to himself at the same time.
It's very one-sided. Like if you only look at it from Oscar's point of view, like it's a lot of good things. But if you look at it from the point of view of Ellie, it's complete victimization because she sees this kid who he's bullied. And like that's like the first thing she sees and witnesses from him is like him doing this mock act out of standing up for himself because he doesn't he doesn't have it, but like he couldn't,
because she mocks him and saying like, you said, I first heard you say make me squeal type thing and stuff like that.
He's taxi drivering it over stabbing that tree.
He's doing taxi driver. He's asking people, are you talking to me, pig?
You talking? Are you talking to me?
But you almost like feel like she might actually care about him, but then like because she's like, I'm gonna let you go because I need to leave because what is happening is like actually not healthy. Like for 2 seconds you almost feel that, and then she like brings it all back and she's like, no, you still need my protection and you're still kind of weak. So she almost like wants to protect him and take care of him until I feel like it would be because she needs something from him.
And I think there's also just like I mean, it's hard to like kind of judge on like what her full mentality is. But again, it seems like it's victimization because she's picking this kid who from a broken home who's getting bullied, pretty weak, all that. And then you see the way she treats Hakan, and that she's very dismissive of him, sends him away. Like when he has, outspent his usefulness, she's completely disinterested.
Right.
But you get more flashes of what their relationship used to be, because there's the scene where he's going out to kill for her, and like he asks her, it's like, can you please not see that boy tonight? Which is like very much like something like if you're in a relationship with somebody and like you kind of see them pulling away from you and like where they're headed next, you would say, can you not go see that person that I know you're attracted to now?
It's a threat. It's a threat.
Yeah. That's my replacement. And like, it's affecting me what you're doing.
He's seen this before, maybe, or he's seen her.
Or he was the replacement. He was the replacement in the past. Yeah. So he, because if she's, we're assuming she's hundreds of years older. So like he was somebody's replacement at some point. So he knows how this already goes down.
Yeah. And he's obviously feeling like not appreciated. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of like that just his like kind of very sullen, sulking kind of posture and things.
It might
like
also be why he's like tripping up too.
I think he's like I think it's one of those things where he's mad that she is kind of like he can sense that she's putting him out to pasture a little bit. Yeah. But at the same time, he still has to do these like awful things for her that he feels that maybe she's taking for granted.
Yeah. And because like he also has like really nobody else to connect with, because they're constantly on the run. And like the neighbors try to connect with him, but like what kind of, really what kind of life is he going to have?
Yeah, he just ignores them. Yeah, he's used to just floating through life and being, not being able to interact with other people outside of her, basically.
Yeah. So and as we're mentioning, like you get it develops pretty quickly that you understand that Ellie is a vampire because she attacks one of the local townspeople, and you do get ahead of Oscar pretty quickly because he doesn't seem to catch on quite as quick that that she's a danger, that she is a vampire. You get fun little scenes where like there's hints, but you kind of don't need it because you're already there. But he's learning, and it's this slow introduction to her lifestyle that I think is what kind of draws him in further. Is because like by the end of the film, the one guy that is searching, who's lost his friend and his wife, I believe his name is Lake, because Jacques is the one who gets killed, and then Oscar basically just like sacrifices him up to Ellie, and is complicit in his murder and is okay with it. And I think that's the point, and that's what Ellie takes as the almost consent. Yeah.
No, I totally. And then like, because I think we're talking about the scene where she's in the bathtub. Is that what we're kind of talking about? And like he protects her, and like, is that, or are you talking about something different?
When she's sleeping in the apartment. And
that's
he comes in.
That's what I mean. Like she's in the bath. Yeah. She's in the bathtub, like kind of covered up. Yeah. No, for sure. And I think before that, I just want to make a point as something I really liked. One of my favorite scenes was, so I can't remember her name, but she had like, it was like, it's almost like Gianna or something like that, where she's attacked by Ellie, and but then gets kicked off, so like she doesn't get killed,
her
but
brother comes and like saves her.
Yeah, so she gets turned, but like the scene when she's in the hospital, and the guy that we're talking about that gets killed in the apartment, he opens the window and she bursts into flame.
Oh yeah,
oh
that's
my
the best
God,
scene in the movie.
That is such an epic scene.
Tell me, like Hereditary was inspired by that in some ways. Like
that totally was so cool. I honestly loved that. Was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
It's like the orderly comes in. Isn't it the orderly that like pulls the
orderly? Okay, I thought it was
yeah, but then the brother walks in, and then they're just like both just in complete
Yeah, it's just complete shock.
They can't. They can't like comprehend
I feel like
what's happening.
Also in this movie had to do that because it wasn't set up to like be a movie where all of a sudden the city's going to be riddled with vampires.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that would have been
it's a very sparse thing. There's not a big cast. It feels very, although it's happening in a lot of it's set in an apartment complex. It's still very isolated, which is cool. But it spaces out these like flurries of shocking imagery really well.
Yeah. Well, also add that too is I don't also that same woman who got who was in the hospital, like I think the cat attack, even though I feel like I don't know if that would have been CGI with the cats.
They were.
I feel like that was an amazing scene of her getting attacked.
Yeah.
I feel like that she had like some of my favorite scenes. Yeah. I think besides that, I just want to make a note that Swedes have the best sweaters. And I think that's like our biggest takeaway.
Swedes do have the sweater game on lock for sure. They don't have the CGI game on lock because those cats kind of look like dog shit a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
Brian, it was 14 years ago.
You know what? I've seen some better stuff from 10 years before.
And I've seen some worse stuff from 3 years ago. So.
That's true too. The cats, like I don't know. It was. I guess it was for a movie that's so. Again, just so sparse.
Which I think is a big theme of it anyway. Is isolation.
But I think the cats felt very juxtaposed to the rest of the movie for that reason. It was a little well, because it was based. Here's what happened. If I had to guess, the guy who wrote the screenplay also wrote the book.
Okay,
so he's not gonna take out a scene that was in the book. So he's going to make it work whether or not they have the CGI budget to support it or not. So, it definitely works in his mind in the book, but you can't have that many cats attack people. If you ever seen the Dario Argento film Inferno, I believe there's a pretty famous cat attack scene in which they're just literally throwing real cats at somebody. Yeah. Have you guys seen the movie Uninvited?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Of course we did.
When a small cat comes out of a big cat's mouth. Yep.
Yes, we've seen Uninvited.
Brian, you're reading this face.
We should watch it again. If I win this, we're watching Uninvited.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that. But the isolation is we're talking about, like, I think is a big theme of the film, though, because, you have Oscar who's isolated from people. You have Hakan who's isolated. Ellie's obviously an isolated figure. So it kind of makes sense that you don't see a whole lot of people. You get the most people when they go on field trip and they're.
Oh, yeah.
They go out. Scene. The whole class takes a trip to ice skating pond.
Oh, yeah. And this is where we have that one little fucktard who...
And then he fucking smacks him in the ear. I did like that when he...
Oh, like, I had no sympathy. I was like, yeah, motherfucker, take it.
Yeah, kill a child.
Whack him. But, I mean, even in that scene, you get isolation because Oscar wanders off by his own. And he's like, I'm going to go play with a stick and a pipe.
Yeah. Damn it. No, he's paying attention. Yeah. Here's a stick. There's a pipe.
Make my own fun.
Yeah. I imagine
this is fun for you. Cool.
I imagine we're spiraling towards the climactic scene in the pool. But man, that I remember the first time I watched this, that one just threw me for a loop.
Yeah. So throughout the film, you obviously have Oscar dealing with his bullies, and the big thing is that, like, he's never standing up for himself, but Ellie gives him the confidence to stand up for himself. And at one point she tells him,
she kind of does.
Yeah, she totally does.
A little bit.
I mean, more than he had.
Why would he like let himself be underwater for 3 minutes and be like,
well, I mean, before,
I could go swim to the other side of the fucking pond, the fucking pool.
No, I meant before that. Is like before that, she gave him the confidence to hit that kid with the stick.
And
true.
also,
That's
then
true.
when he goes and lives with his dad, he just seems a lot more happy and all that stuff. He's like riding his fucking bike around or whatever.
Yeah, he's removed from the situation of having bullies when he's with his dad, but his dad has his own thing going on of like he's like a drunk and a party guy, and just like generally ignores him.
Yeah,
so
he is.
He's not happy in any place that he's in. He's either at, with his mom getting bullied or with his dad. But Ellie does give him the confidence, and she says, like, hit him as hard as you can. And then if, that doesn't work, I'll protect you. So, and that's what culminates at the very end, because after he hits that little fuckhead in the head with the stick, and sends him to the hospital.
Hits him right in the fucking ear.
Just right on the...
It's the best. There's nothing funnier than hitting somebody in the ear. I don't know
There's
why.
something so painful about that too. Just thinking,
I know, because you know how that hurts.
Because it's also in the winter. It's a winter cold ear.
Your ears are already like freezing.
I feel like why is it like that? You ever realize that I think Swedish movies just like always portray Sweden as like always being perpetual winter, but it's just not.
It's most winter.
Yeah. I mean, it's like 9 months a year is winter.
No, I feel like they're way more tan and beautiful and like, than any of us.
No, we just watched. We just did a thing about Midsummer. It's beautiful and bright and sunny. And
in June. But then...
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Is she was saying they always portray Sweden as icy and cold.
I think Sweden does it to themselves. Like,
because of where they're located.
What the fuck? You're now victim shaming right now.
Have you watched any of the original Stieg Larsson Millennium films?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
The girl. Oh, right. So then you're talking about something that you don't know about. So
get up with the fucking Swedish cinema. Be a
I'm
good
trying
Swede.
to be realistic here, and you guys are like, "Oh yeah, no."
Yeah, no, the girl with the dragon tattoo films, the original ones, they're all dark.
No, for sure.
Yeah, but it's all they make their own winter all the time. The Insomnia film, winter all the time. The TV show Fortitude, fantastic show, winter all the time.
I don't know that one.
That one kind of rules. You should check it out. It's got polar bear attacks and like weird bugs from the prehistoric era. It's great stuff.
Sick.
But yeah, coming back to the end.
I'll just watch The Mist. That's right.
You can do that too. Coming back to the end of the film, this is where the kid who got hit in the head with a stick and had his ear busted, he gets his brother involved, because that's what people do. They go get their bigger brother. Bigger brother comes by, and
bigger brother's a fucking sociopath.
He's a psycho.
Yeah.
He actually, I feel like, is the like villain in this movie.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's like, what, we see him for 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's a villain.
And I'm happy he's dead. I'm happy he fucking dies.
Yeah.
You definitely fall in love with the idea that like you want them to live, and you know what I mean? Like you want them, like you fall in love with their like little pedo love story.
It says a lot about you.
Yeah, it's not great. Just because he's
you put this on them and then accepted them
right
for it.
Yeah, we didn't even say that was cool. We were just like it's a thing.
You were like, this girl's actually a pedophile, and I'm very cool with it. You said that just now.
I can't come back from any of these comments, so I'm not gonna.
You're fucking. You just got me too.
Meg's canceled.
Meg's canceled. Not me too. I meant canceled. But you might have got both. I don't know.
I'm waiting for one of us to get canceled on this show because we literally.
I just really like saying somebody gets me too. Like it suggests that like it's not their fault. Right. It's like such a shitty thing to say. Whenever I see somebody on Twitter, they're like, "Oh, so and so got me too," and I'm like. It sounds like you're saying it wasn't their fault.
Meg stumbled and got me too, and she wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, she fucked around and got me too.
She wasn't watching. But yeah, so the brother and the three little bastards, they show up to the pool and they clear everybody out, and they decide that they're gonna hold Oscar under the water and make him fight for his life, and then if he, doesn't if he can hold his breath for 3 minutes, then he doesn't get his eye stabbed out, which that's pretty psychotic.
He would have.
Oh, yeah. Shit's pretty wild.
Even if he did, and even if he trained for this, he would have gotten his eyes stabbed out. Let's fucking be real, guys.
Right.
Yeah, I can only hold my breath for like 12 seconds. I can't do 3 minutes. I'd be dead. I'd be dead.
Maybe
at 30
that's like
seconds.
a weed thing. Like maybe you just don't have the lung capacity at this point because you smoke so much
No,
weed.
you had the COVID in the weed. That's not good for your.
Yeah, I had.
And I didn't make it any better. You had the COVIDs, yeah.
You didn't have COVID. You just had regular COVID. I had full on COVID.
Yeah, I feel like you guys might have had it a little worse than I did.
Yeah, Ellie comes and saves the day. She kills all those kids in pretty hilarious fashion, and it ends with all those kids dead except for the one fat one crying, which I thought was very funny. And because that kid is just weeping in a pool full of dead bodies.
Why doesn't he die?
Because he
didn't want to do it the whole time.
Did he not look her in the eye?
No, he didn't even want to be a part of it the whole time.
Yeah, because he started crying the first time they were hitting him with a stick.
He was such a bitch ass, literally.
Well, yeah, he doesn't want to be a bully. He's a soft boy, Meg, and he fell in with the wrong crowd.
Again, bitch ass.
Doesn't deserve to die poolside.
Again, we could have brought in Nope into this, but nope.
Meg's like, die a bully, or dying a bully is
die a
better
bully
than
or get called a bitch ass.
My memoir for myself is going to be How to Be a Bully.
Wait, what?
And it's going to be called Warheads and Don't Look Them in the Eye.
I'm going to pre-order a copy of that if you're working on it right now.
I am. It's already written.
How many chapters are you doing? Are you doing the audiobook?
It's actually 25 chapters, and I am actually going to do the audiobook. Yeah, I will. Don't you love my voice? I got a face for radio, motherfucker.
Well, look for Meg's How to Bully book on coming to Audible soon.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to your
how to
stupid
teach
movie.
a kid not to be a bitch ass.
Chapter 1, Bullying the Swedish Way. Chapter 2, Pickle Surprise.
You just slap people with pickled herring a lot in the face.
But yeah, that's Let the Right One In. A fantastically, wonderfully filmed movie. It's got the best cinematography. Right. It's got fantastic music to it. It lets us into the world of lore.
There's a poodle named Ricky. There's a fucking poodle named Ricky. Yeah. Why did we not talk about this?
Oh, I forgot about the poodle. That's what's his name's dog. Or no, was that the guy who he was killing?
No, that was just a dog that came across.
That
dog was just fucking around out in the woods. Gotcha.
Yeah.
A Swedish dog that got out and was being a narc named Ricky.
Yep. Narc dog.
And then he runs away. He just bails.
Yeah, he bails and he forgets the blood, and that's the inciting incident.
Yeah. Lame. Real bitch ass move. I like this movie a lot. It's obviously a great flick. I think it's longer than it needs to be. There's no fucking way this movie needs to be 2 hours. I mean, it's a slow burn kind of thing, but there's a lot of like. I'm a little, I don't want to say surprised. I mean, I think it's probably was some sort of, it happens with child actors where it doesn't necessarily mean they want to pursue it as a career their entire life, but the kids' performances were both really good. And I'm surprised though that it was weird. They kind of like chewed the scenery a lot, which was weird. You don't necessarily see kids doing a lot. There's a lot of like unspoken dialogue almost between the two of them, and there's a lot of like really doing long pauses to think about what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
And can we also add to this, like all your comments so far though, do you feel that way, or is it just because you don't know how to speak Swedish and you don't actually like, because I think like part of, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't think we fully understand like their ability to act, because I feel like they did do pretty good, but there was like, I think Oscar did have this awkwardness. I think Ellie was actually really good. I
think they were both good.
Thing. Yeah,
I think they were both good. I guess here was my theory that I was getting to, and this might be a harebrained theory here, but there is a lot of really good foreign horror out there that doesn't get a Western audience. It just never really gets an attention from a Western audience. This movie is good. I like this movie a lot. I think there's some really great cinematography, especially I think probably in my mind, the kids' performances and the cinematography, I think, are the high points of the movie. Here's my crackpot theory, is that the slow dialogue and the show don't tell approach to the entire story is why this movie appeals more to Western audiences, because they don't have to read subtitles real fast.
Right.
And they have to they can look up and see the full weight of the performance without having to stare at subtitles.
Sure. Sure. I can understand that.
Like what was I watching the other night? Boy, I was watching I was watching Akira, and faster dialogue, right? There's a lot of like show don't tell stuff in there. I mean, it's animated. It's completely different, but you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of fast dialogue where you're like,
yeah,
you have to read it and you have to stay on top of the subtitles, and you will miss things because you have to read the subtitles.
The last 10-15 minutes of that film where they're just doing a complete exposition dump, but there's also a lot of fast switching imagery. That one's a little harder, but I think just because it's so rich in visuals, that's why that one keeps a Western audience. Yeah. But I think you're right in what you're saying, in like this film appeals to a Western audience because like everything feels very deliberate, and it, I think also just because
it like waits for the audience.
So the slowness almost even works, but I also want to make the joke that I think you're also saying that like the Swedish language is just like so much more digestible to people.
No, I think like you've heard the Swedish chef talk, like it's a mile a minute.
No, but like I feel like what I'm getting into is like I think like I love the Swedish dialect a lot in general, and I'm sure in different regions, but it's like always like it's slower, but it's also deeper, and I think like there's not a lot of filler. It's just like we say what we say, and it's like very similar to just from the limited knowledge I have about the Swedish language. It's like similar to the like American, like English speech too.
Was Rare Exports, was that Swedish? That was Finnish. That might have been Finnish or Norwegian even. I forget.
Yeah, I feel like anything Scandinavian though is all going to have kind of the same.
Well, that I just remember that movie, like the dialogue being a little bit more bang bang bang. I don't know. Anyway,
it's just I don't know, because I feel like even watching like Dead Snow and The Trip, and like I mentioned, the original Stieg Larsson films, like they're all still pretty very deliberate, and they're not too fast, in the way they approach their dialogue. So I think it's all very accessible.
Yeah.
So
it's a good flick. I sometimes I wonder whether it deserves the accolades that it gets. Like I have seen this, people put this on list of like the top 10 horror movies of all time. And I'm like, come on.
Maybe not perhaps the top of all time, but I think it's definitely like one of the top films, especially of the modern era, because like you think about how much of this film is so much of like proto A24 stuff.
Yeah,
of being
it's
slow
a great movie, and it's
deliberate.
A hugely influential movie. I totally agree with that.
It's just talk about what it influenced? Like, I think when I was thinking about this whole Showdown too is, and even thinking about like my film and just thinking about like how things influence something else in the future, is that I do think this movie overall is actually really good, for as much as I've like joked about it in general. Like I enjoyed the experience. I felt it was a little slow at times, but I overall felt like the story was really good. I felt like the like idea of this like non-traditional vampire and like everything was good and it was there. I think the uniqueness of it wasn't, but I feel like it could be influential to things that could have come after that. And I would love to hear both of your perspectives on how even this film, or even like your film when we get to it, Brian, like how it could influence like future different like horror or vampire movies in general. Because I feel like even this one particularly, I think kept to a certain script in a way. Like a lot of the things with vampires, like we got a lot of the things. I think some of the uniqueness came in that, like the subtlety of the things going around the city a little bit, and like what they were experiencing with like even the cats, or just like what they were seeing and they didn't know what the fuck to think about. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah,
this
so I'm
is
going to pause right here and let's talk about it.
This is the most traditional of our three non-traditional vampire films.
I do agree.
It's the setting is non-traditional, and the fact that it's a child is non-traditional, and the fact that it's like, I guess, just in the sense that it's a modern setting is non-traditional, but otherwise it really sticks fairly close to a lot of the traditional vampire tropes, like the fact that there is some sort of unseen plague that is, been cast upon the community, and they have suspicions about what it is, but they can't prove it, and all that sort of thing. And then a small, contingent of townsfolks kind of put it on themselves to figure that out. Like that's definitely a vampire trope. The not being able to be seen in a mirror type of stuff, like that's there. But then the familiar, or whatever you want to call it, kind of thing, the servant-ish, whatever, companion. It actually it doesn't stray very far from a lot of those tropes, but it does. I don't know, I guess just modernize them, and more to the point, I think it like brings them into a not societal, what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of shows what those things would translate to in real life. Like, right. I guess it's more realism.
Yeah, it modernizes it, and it makes it more realistic because of that whole back to the familiar kind of companion dynamic. It recontextualizes it, not just as like, oh, this is my slave who does my bidding. It's like, this is somebody that I've victimized and now has nowhere else to go. And like,
I still have to manage that relationship and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like it more modernizes it as a codependency relationship, and a relationship that's built off victimhood and like grooming and all those type of things.
Yeah,
totally. Which, I mean, I think is like that might be more of a non-traditional trope of like the interpretation of vampires, because I don't think necessarily, I mean, you probably could interpret it from traditional vampire films, but I don't think it's necessarily always a direct thing that someone would pull like of this like codependency. Because I think oftentimes, like when I was looking at what I loved about just diving into this subgenre was really putting on blast what are the common themes throughout vampire type films. And I'm like, okay, sex, drugs, rock and roll, fucking it's all about this like addiction type mentality. And so I think it's just like a different, more modern interpretation of that addiction mentality, where like you constantly, like if we're talking about attachments, we're talking about people who are just like constantly needing someone else, that I think is something that we can all understand and digest from like more non-traditional vampire films that are coming out of like the modern era of vampire films.
Yeah, I think the other thing that this one did was because it did elevate that codependence kind of thing a little bit more, where like we kind of both know the score and we know this isn't going to end well, but we're not really sure how to cope with it, because in the past it was always like the vampire. I think the more traditional trope would have been the vampires always, you know, whoever the person is that's doing their bidding, it's like they're always gaslighting them and they're bringing them along for the ride, and they're always like promising that they're gonna turn them into a vampire, or
they turn them into the vampire to get them. You know what I mean? Like, it's like an immediate thing. You know, it's like, I'm going to just like bring you. And I think even when we get to Near Dark, I think that's more of actually what happens.
Yeah, that's like a more straight up companion thing.
Yeah,
that's like
I need someone. I want someone. I'm going to be living for eternity. So I want you here forever with me.
Yeah, I think what really turns this one around is that all those examples you've mentioned is usually it ends on a down note with the way either like the vampire is killed or the familiar is killed and all that, but like this one ends on like what you're supposed to believe is a happy ending
in theory,
as they're escaping the city and like starting a new life together. But like, because like even the shot itself, like they're on a train, they're going somewhere, it's motion, it's sun, there's, a lot of things that aren't in the rest of the film. So you think, oh, this is a happy ending, but like back in your mind, it's not.
Right. It's just going to be that same, like, so she's going to do to him what she did to that other guy, because she's not turning him.
Right.
Because she knows she needs him to do things that would happen during the day.
Well, and also she, I think the assumption too is that she targeted him because she knew that he was this disenfranchised person that didn't have anything else that was holding him there.
Right. So there's a lot of the traditional lore stuff, but like none of that lore stuff is kind of hit on the nose. It's in that show Don't Tell, like you see cats reacting and that's just something animals don't like vampires. Or you see like when they try to share candy, it goes from her trying a piece to throwing up, but it's never like I can't eat candy because I'm a vampire.
I know. Remember, only humans can eat candy.
Yeah. So
I like that she wanted to try, though. She was just like, well, maybe I should try. And then she really, you know what I mean? I kind of felt like that brought a humanistic element to and it made you care a little bit more that she knew the situation, but she wanted to try anyway. So again, I felt like it just aided their relationship a little bit differently.
Yeah. But, you always have to question like how much of that is her manipulating him, because when you go to the scene of like her saying that she needs to be asked in, and he says, what happens if I don't ask you in? She comes in anyway. She comes in anyway, knowing that it's going to induce that kind of blood letting whatever breakdown.
Sure.
But like, she knows that's also going to manipulate him into making him ask her in. Like, he's not going to let her die. So, yep. Yeah. All of that. You have to wonder how much of that is manipulation, being, hundreds of years old.
That's good. I think that's a good question. I think that's a good thing to like add to this film, is that like maybe adds another layer of curiosity.
Yeah.
And like into the whole overall thing. So anywho, I didn't hate this film at all. I liked it. I would definitely watch it again, but
yeah, of course it rules. It's probably not as shallow as whatever the American remake was.
Yeah, I didn't watch that. I kind of want to. I imagine I'll be disappointed, but
yeah,
we shall see. All right. Anything else before we get into the feature presentation here?
Continued in part 2. I hate Mondays.